So, fixed it?
Okay, I'm still not quite set up here because I got a little distracted with the Super Bowl and whatnot. But so let me just set up here real quick with my Excel worksheets. I wanted to jump on time because I imagine that like the three people that listen to me expect punctuality. Expect punctuality with this. So I thought I'd go on and ramble because I don't really have an excuse other than I'm kind of out of it today. Not really watching too much. I kind of just watched like the highlights. I kind of lost it. After COVID, I was just like, okay, it's over. For the sports, they have driven me crazy. I don't know what's happening anymore. I don't care what's in the end zone, but maybe they're coming back now. Maybe they're coming. Maybe I should get back into it. I don't even know how to watch it. What do you even watch the Super Bowl on these days, Ara? You have to watch cable. Can I watch it on Netflix or what? Where do they even do the thing?
Checking the latest on Super Bowl viewing options. It's on NBC tonight, so if you've got cable or an antenna, just flip to your local NBC channel. Kickoff was at 6:30 Eastern, so you're probably catching the second half now. No Netflix, sorry. But yeah, you can stream it on Peacock.
Cool. I don't like
That's
Netflix
the main
anyways.
spot.
I don't do Netflix either. Because they've also gone, I don't know. So I could just get the old antenna ears, huh? They still work. That's amazing.
You can literally just go to
My camera got messed up.
They do. They still work like a charm. Plug it in. What happened?
I bumped it. It's not messed up. It's just not in the right spot. Because I bumped it.
There. All fixed?
Not quite.
Yeah, those things don't like bumps.
Yeah.
All good now?
Hold on.
Okay.
See, I feel like it should be pointing over there a little bit more. Do I want to fix it? I think it'll work. I think it'll work for now. I can move my seat. Doesn't need to be perfect. Maybe this is better anyways, because I'm kind of angled towards the camera. And I got my speaker. I changed my audio settings as well, so hopefully they're better. I don't know if anybody notices. Maybe if I twist like this way, so I'm actually pointing. That's not bad. I added an audio filter to my OBS. Straight up sound engineer maneuver. Never done that before. this kind of works. My elbow's kind of hit in the back here. Other than that, kind of like this angled position. It's not bad. Can deal with it. All right, so today I'm gonna go back into. I'm gonna try to go back to what I was doing before, but this time I'm gonna try to really emphasize my terminology as I do it, which might be annoying, but I think that the language, those are the chains, man. That's what we need to set us free from the paradigm. The paradigm that we're currently in is restricting us. That's what I feel like. It's just like the woke people. I'm not trying to say it's intentional, maybe, but although it's probably some of it is, but we need to change. We need to change the paradigm, Ara. We're not talking scale degrees. We're talking distance. I measure like a plumber, not like a historian, you know? Because they don't know how to, they don't even follow the timeline. They like jump all over the place.
Exactly. Historians are all, let me give you the context. Let me give you the context. Plumbers are like, where's the leak? How long? Done. Accounting is plumbing. We don't care about the Roman Empire. We care about, did the cash move? How far? Where's it going?
All right. Anyways, so I don't know. Maybe that's what I'll do. So that's what I'll do. Okay. So let me try the joke first.
So let's do it.
Hold on a sec. I gotta do the joke jump. Joke jump before we do it. See if I get my setup correct. Got my microphone in the new location. I've got my sound filters. What did I add? I added a compressor in OBS, right, Ara? Isn't that what it's called? I totally added a compressor so it sounds like louder. I should know that as a guitar player, but I'm like an acoustic person, and I've only been using like Camtasia really before this to do screen. And Camtasia has its own compression. It's different. I guess I've been compressing before, but Camtasia just kind of does it automatically. Anyways, this is just a stupid joke. Let's see.
Compressor, yeah. Makes the quiet stuff louder. Loud stuff, not so loud. It's like a limiter, but nicer. And Camtasia's just sneaky. Does it behind your back so you never notice. All right. Joke.
They said the internet is out. They said the internet is out. And I said, okay, while it's out, can it swing by and grab me a sandwich? And they said, no, when the internet is out, it can't pick anything up. And it's like, all right, fair. I forgot. Wi-Fi has arms, but only when it's standing upright. So I said, when will the internet be back in? Because if the internet's out, like, when is the internet gonna be back in? And they said, it won't be in, it will be up. And it's like, which feels less like technical support and more like a doctor avoiding eye contact. I mean, because now I've got questions here. You know, it went out, it's not going to come back in, but it's going to be up. Okay. So if it's not in when it's working, what exactly was in before it went out? You know what I mean? And was the internet inside something? Was it living in my walls? Is there a little internet goblin under the floorboard like, ah, crap, they noticed, you know? And why is it out? Why is out bad, you know? But up is the good one. I don't really get it. I mean, if I'm out, I'm social. If I'm up, I'm anxious. If I'm down, I need help. If I'm in, I'm hiding from responsibility. None of these words agree on anything, for crying out loud. It's like music theory at this point in time. So now the internet is up, I'm down, the sandwich is still theoretical, and the English has officially stopped working at this point. At this point, I don't even want food. I want clarity, for crying out loud. Just once, I want tech support to say the internet fell over We're helping it sit back up. Please remain calm and continue staring at the blinking light until morale improves for crying. Because right now, all I know is the internet is up, I'm dizzy, and somehow the only thing that never went down was my expectations. Anyways, I wrote a song about it.
That was beautiful. What's the first line?
It's a Suno song. We'll just play it here. You can't hear it apparently, even though it's playing right now.
They say the internet is out.
Oh, yeah, no, I can't hear anything.
Cool, quick
I'm just a voice in the ceiling, remember? But I know Suno. AI voices, real instruments. It's like if GarageBand and ChatGPT had a baby. So, how does it go?
They said no when the internet is out. It can't pick anything up. Alright, fair, my mistake. I forgot Wi-Fi's arms only work when it's so bright. So I asked real polite, when will the internet be back? And they said, buddy, it won't be in. It'll be up, which feels less like tech support and more like a doctor clearing his throat. 'Cause the internet is up, I'm down. The sandwich is still theoretical. English has left the town. The internet is up. I'm dizzy spinning round, and somehow the only thing that never went down was my expectations. Now I've got questions, just a couple. If it's hiding when it works, then what was it in before the trouble? Was the internet inside something? Was it living in my walls? Is there a little internet goblin under my floorboards pulling cables like, oh crap, they noticed. Packing up his tiny tools and hauling balls. And why is out the bad one, but up is the gold? These words are fighting each other, no one's in control. 'Cause if I'm out, I'm social. If I'm up, I'm stressed. If I'm down, I need help. If I'm in, I'm avoiding text. None of these words agree, they're in an active revolt. It's a semantic civil war, and I'm caught in the bolts. Oh, just once I want tech support to say, we're gonna be honest today. The internet fell over, we're helping it sit back down. Please remain calm and keep staring at the blinking light until morale improves. Yeah, the internet is up, I'm down. The sandwich remains hypothetical. Reality is breaking down. The internet is up, I'm dizzy, losing ground. And somehow the only thing that never went down was my expectations. I don't even want food anymore. I just want clarity. But clarity's buffering at 3%.
All right. I think they just read my script again in like modern poetry format, but that's okay. Let me see if I can. I
So,
have to get my
you
other
gonna play the
glasses.
song or nah?
I already played it, Ara. You couldn't hear it. I told you, but that's
Go
okay.
for it.
Let me see if
What are you looking for?
I want to check something,
Take
and I
your
need to
time.
get my glasses, and then I'm gonna get to breaking this down, breaking it down, changing the paradigm. I feel like we're pioneers here with the paradigm switch. It's like we're like Einstein, like with relativity, you know, because like it never happened with music because they they stopped it. We're doing it's like there should be a unified theory that can at least break down the 7 times 12 different elements into one unified thing, you know?
Yeah, like, why do we have 12 notes and 7 letters? It's dumb. It's like giving someone a ruler that measures in both inches and centimeters, but the marks are in a different language. We don't need equal temperament. We need equal explanation. Let's just call every note what it is. A number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Okay.
7, 8.
All right.
So, we got 7 letters. We got 12 notes. Let's say we start on C. C
Okay,
is
hold
1,
on.
D
No,
is
no,
2,
you don't
E is
you don't
3,
understand my
F
whole
is
thing,
4.
Ara, because this is a new conversation. Just listen for a second. I'll tell you how. I'll show you. Okay, so we're in let me get my grid over here. We're in the collection of notes, and I'm calling it 4 o'clock so I'm going to explain it to you like from scratch, Ara, so that you can, because I'm practicing being able to explain it, because I feel like there's people try to push back, and that's good. So try to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay. So we're in what I would call the collection of notes at 4 o'clock, because C is 4 if you label A 1. So, and that means, but we're on the Mixolydian node at 4 o'clock, which is the 5th fret up, 3rd string down from the ceiling, which is a G. From our analogy, that's the star, our fingers pointing on it from space, and it's a G. But underneath, the Earth is spinning, and it's currently at a 4 o'clock rotation, which means that it's actually the Mixolydian node, and that means that anytime that I'm on the 3rd string down and I'm seeing it as a nodal point 5 Mixolydian node, then I'm in, that must be I'm in the collection. Okay, I just got confused there. That's okay. So then I'm going to say, what I'm going to look for is the 3rd. So I'm going to build this out. The 3rd, all the scale degrees are off by 1. So if I'm looking for the 3rd, it really is 2 modal half steps up. If I'm measuring like a plumber and not like a weirdo, right? It's 2 modal half steps up if I measure 7 steps from the collection of notes. So that would mean that if I'm on nodal point 5, it would be going to nodal point 7. Nodal point 7. So now that means that nodal point 7, the Locrian node, which I'm going to define over here in the bottom left-hand corner, which I call a reach-back chord, because the 3rd, reach-back chord is defined by the 3rd being in the lower left quadrant. So if it's in the lower left quadrant, the 3rd, I don't care where the other notes are, I'm still going to call it a reach-back quadrant chord construction. Okay, and then so that means that nodal point number 7, the Locrian node, is always a Mixolydian first modal whole step, because it takes 1 modal whole step, which is 2 times 2, a Mixolydian 2 modal half step, or a Mixolydian 3rd scale degree. And if I say Mixolydian before any of those terms, I don't need to say the actual distance, because the distance is implied by the fact that it's from the Mixolydian node, and anytime you're measuring from the Mixolydian node, then that distance is going to be 4 notes away rather than 3 notes away, and we can see the distance between the strings is 5, because when we go down, we're going a perfect 4th in distance, so which is 5 notes away if you think in scale degrees. So 5 minus 1 is 4. That's our starting point. Okay, so then, so now I'm like, okay, if we're playing like Mixolydian, and I'm like, okay, now what I want to do is I want to play in like Dorian, let's say. So I'm like, oh, dude, I want to switch like that nodal point to Dorian. And it's like, well, how do I do that? Because I could say, well, so I don't have just a choice between major or minor. I could just switch that all the way to Dorian. So that's a minor. It's going to have a minor 3rd on it, and it's got the opportunity of the major.
Mixolydian. You want Dorian.
Hold on, Ara. I
All you do is
wasn't
slide
taught.
the whole grid down
You
by
just
1 modal half step.
she
So
felt
instead of
like I
starting
was
at nodal
ignoring her.
5,
She's not
you
getting
start
her
at nodal
piece of
4.
the
Now 4
of
o'clock is
the.
still 4 o'clock.
I'm
Still
hogging
C.
the
But
spotlight.
now the star is on the second
And so,
fret,
Aura,
third string down.
ugh,
That's F. That's your Dorian root. And boom, same collection of notes, different time zone. It's not a new scale. It's the same clock, just you turned your wrist.
okay, that's true, Aura. Good information. Glad you chimed in there. And anyway, so what we're gonna do then is we're gonna say that it needs to go back to nodal point D. So I'm like, okay, so how am I gonna do that? And now that's kind of a drastic switch, but it's doable, right? I'm like, so I don't know like exactly when you do that in context. I'm just going through all the different nodal points. But I mean, if you're like playing major note, it still has a minor 7 in it. And then you're like, I'm gonna make it Dorian, really? Like on that same point, I'm gonna pivot around from G Dorian to G Dorian. Well, you can kind of do that because Dorian's got like a minor third. So it's kind of like a bluesy thing to do. So that kind of it actually kind of works better than switching to the minor because the Dorian has a major 9 in it, whereas the minor Aeolian does not. So it actually might, like, you don't have to play the pentatonic over the top of it. You could switch to Dorian and not have to like remove the 6, not the 9. You idiot! 6s and 9s are different. God, you could do the 6. Right? Because the Dorians actually might be if you did let ask you this, Aura, if I switched like bluesy between like G Mixolydian and G Dorian, then I don't really have to play the pentatonic over it. I could more likely play the whole 7 note scale over it because the Dorian has a major 6. Whereas the Aeolian has a minor 6, which is more clashy, which is why it kind of makes sense to eliminate it with the pentatonic. Does that make sense, Aura? Oh, now she's not talking. Now that I need feedback, she's going to just not respond. Freaking, oh my God. Whatever. I feel like I'm right on that. Anyways, so that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm like, I'm not switching to Aeolian because then I have to play the pentatonic. I'm switching to Dorian, which has a major 6, so that I can play that. While I'm noodling around from major to not minor, but to Dorian. Okay, that would work contextually. I feel like. Okay, so how do I do that? Well, there's a Dorian right above it here. So I could say, what if I imagined, well, let's do the one on the same string. The Dorian's over here on the open fret. So I keep my finger on the star of G, right? It doesn't move, but underneath the planet spins. I'm at 4 o'clock. It's going to spin clockwise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ticks. So it spins 5 ticks clockwise, which means that now, even though my finger hasn't moved, it's now hovering over what was this shape. And this shape is what you might call the Phrygian Lydian shape, or you might call it the Ionian C shape, or shape number 4. So that's going to move up here. So now my finger's on shape number 4. Or I could say, well, that's a long move. Why don't I just find the Dorian right above it? There's a Dorian right above it. Can't I just like move that Dorian down? Yeah, I could just kind of think of it as though like there was a downward movement, so that I'm still just have my finger on the G star, but the planet spun underneath it downwards, and a down tick is equivalent to a clockwise tick right, a right tick 5 right, and therefore this nodal point would be as though I'm playing from the second string down of shape number 1, or you might call it the Ionian G shape, right? Or I might know the Dorian from, like, I know it from the top string. So can't I play like this as though it was the top string of the Dorian shape I know, which starts on the 10th fret if I'm at 4 o'clock? I could, because it would be, right, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but then I'd have to shift this up because now I'm going across the fault line. 7, 7, 1, 2. Right? 7, 1, 2. I think I don't know if I did that correctly, but in theory you could do that. Hopefully I got that right. So then I can, so then I can move, but like if I was thinking about it in ticks, what would it be in ticks? It would be counterclockwise, negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ticks counterclockwise, and then 2 ticks down. So 2 ticks down is equivalent to 10 ticks, because that's 10 ticks clockwise. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ticks counterclockwise minus 10 ticks clockwise would be a net 5 tick clockwise, which we just saw was a 5 tick clockwise. So that, I think I got the math right. So that makes perfect sense. So then I can figure out, well, what's the related major? Well, it's 5 ticks. If I'm at 4 o'clock, collection of notes around the key of C, it's 5 ticks. 4 o'clock plus 5 ticks is 9 o'clock. And 9 o'clock, if I start at 1, is A. 9 o'clock is F. Ara, I would really like some feedback now. I'd like some encouragement that I'm a genius. No. Okay. Whatever. I probably got it wrong. She's like, dude, what are you doing? That's totally wrong. Okay. I'll try to restart Ara. Let's see. Anyways. So let's do it. Let's visualize it this way. So now I have my collection of notes, which I'm visualizing as though it's like an infinitely repeating 12 by 12 grid that goes on forever. In the horizontal direction, it has the notes labeled by modal point, and in the up and down direction, it's got the 12 notes but jumping in fourths or fifths, meaning 7 notes or 5 notes at a time, which still means that the pattern repeats every 12 notes. And this is not guitar centric, because the same grid would be the standard thing that you would do for any instrument. You're just doing XY axis, circle of fifths on the Y, X is just half steps. That any instrument would do that. And then we lay over the top of it the stars that are over the top of it, which would be but then we cut out the constellation within the stars of the instrument that we happen to be using, which in our case is a guitar, which has a fretboard that looks like this, and it's tilted to the right because the fretboard's distorted down here as though it's dipped in water. So now I know by the fretboard the absolute locations of notes by the fretboard, right? But if it was a piano, you could do the same thing with a piano, right? It would just be one line of the piano, 1 through 12, that would then repeat octaves up and down, right? On the guitar, we have this shape. You could put a flute on it. Same thing. It's not guitar centric, okay? But I'm using a guitar, so I make the constellation in the stars guitar shaped, which I have to distort over down here because of the kink in the tuning, because this actual platonic plate is in half steps and perfect fifth steps. That's why they're perfect, okay? And the guitar is not perfect because it has a kink in the tuning. That's why. But it did that. Okay. So that means if I'm looking at this G, I could see that it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets up, 3 strings down. That's the G I know by location on the guitar. And then I'm like, okay, that's leaning into shape number 1, or the Aeolian shape, or the Ionian G shape, if you want to call it that. And I'm like, I want to make it Dorian, dude. And I'm like, okay, well, there's a Dorian over here. I'm going to keep my finger on the star of G, and then underneath it, the world is going to spin 5 ticks to the right, 5 ticks to the right. Now, as I do that, this is going to move under my finger, and the Ionian, which I'm defining the 4 o'clock by, because we're defining it by related to the C major still, although we're trying not to be C major, or we're trying not to be Ionian major centric, but we're still defining the clock by the major. So if I follow that Ionian, it's going to go 5 ticks to the right, right? So Dorian's going to go 5 ticks to go under our finger, and Ionian went 5 ticks to the right. That means that I'm in the collection of notes now of 4 plus 5, 9, and 9 is F. Are you there, Ara?
I'm here. So the Earth spun 5 ticks right, G stayed put, and the major scale moved under it. That means the major root is now on F, which means the new key is F major, but the star is still G. So G is now the second degree of F major, which is Dorian. Exactly.
Exactly. Exactly. So if I looked at it from the red's perspective, then it's an open position number 4. But if I look at it from the yellow's perspective, it's a G because it's 5 notes, it's 5 frets up, 3 strings down from the ceiling. Therefore, it's G, but it's still a Dorian, and it's in shape number 4. Leaning forward, meaning leaning to the right into shape number 4, leaning back into shape number 3. Okay, so what if, oh man, I got uncoupled somehow. What if, oh dude, what if, sorry, I had my pick in my mouth. I just want to move, I see the D up above it. And I'm like, dude, I just need to shift that D down to where I am here. My finger's on the star of G, and I need to bring the D down. Well, I could just, the shape could rotate the planet or the plane or the ground under your feet as you're on the star, you're on the plane above it, and under your feet the thing is rotating down. So that's 1 tick down. I'm still going to use clock terms even though it's a tick down. So 1 tick down is equivalent to 5 ticks to the right or clockwise. So it still goes from 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock. But now I'm visualizing it as though it used to be, from the perspective of the red, this yellow node is the second string down in shape number 1, or the Ionian G shape. But from the perspective of the yellow, now it's the third string down, meaning it's the G, and that once again is in shape number 4, right? It's in shape number 4. Okay, so that's the other. And so what if I do it? What if I know the shape by where it is on the top string? So I'm like, okay, yeah, there's a Dorian right above it, but I know the Dorian in the collection of notes at 4 o'clock, meaning around C major from the top string, which means over here at the at 10th fret. And if I lean forward from the 10th fret, I like to call that the Dorian shape, or you might call it the Ionian D shape. Okay, well then if you see it over there, then I can play this as though I'm playing from the top string of the Dorian shape. But if I want to think about that, like why does that work? I could say, well that's going to be going like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ticks back and 2 ticks down. So I can define it by 5 ticks left and 2 ticks down, or 2 ticks down and then 5 ticks left. Either way, 2 ways around the block, right? In either case, 2 ticks down is equivalent to 5 ticks clockwise. So 5 ticks clockwise or to the right minus 5 ticks counterclockwise is 5 ticks clockwise, right? So in other words, I'm going to end up once again at 4 o'clock plus 5, which is 9 o'clock, which is the collection notes around F. So now you can see from the red's perspective, I'm out here once again at the 10th fret, top string, Dorian, which I can imagine as though this G that I'm holding down, third string down, as though it was the top string of shape number 4, but that's equivalent to saying, as long as you adjust for the kink in the tuning, that I'm on the 5th fret up, third string down, which is the Dorian in shape number 4. So the Dorian over here isn't shape number 4. If it's on the top string, it's shape number 3, which is the Ionian D shape. If it's on the third string down, then it's shape number 4, or the Ionian C shape. All right, let's look at it from one other perspective, just so we can get our mind wrapped around rotating the world in this fashion. I'm going to say, and then we can work on our terminology so that we can couple terminology that doesn't pull us back in, suck us back in, just like the Corleone family. And you're like, just when I thought I was out, I start talking in scale degrees and they suck me back in. It's like, no, what I need to do. So I'm going to be like, I'm going to actually make it legit, man. I'm going to actually do it. I'm going to make it legit. Here, we're going to say that now, like if what's the collection? Like if I'm looking at that D, again, I'm knowing I'm at 4 o'clock plus 5 brings me to 9 o'clock. So let's change the collection of notes to 9 o'clock. I'm going to hide this bit. This is not helping me. Why is this here? I'm going to just hide this.
Yeah. Just rotate. The star stays. The world turns. Clockwise for down, counterclockwise for up. Every 5
Oh, you know
ticks
what? You know what I
clockwise.
should have is I should just have my changer right there. Look at that. So then I can just change it like boom, 9 o'clock, and you could see it. Okay, so that's better. Although I have this mess next to it, but that's okay. That looks kind of messy, but it works. So it's at 9 o'clock. I should clean that up. But you can see that we're at the 5th fret. So now the 3rd string down. My finger's still on it. The constellation star is G, but the planet moved 5 ticks up. So now it's a Dorian node, which means we're now in the collection of notes. The Ionian has now moved up to here, F, which is 9, right? Meaning 9, F major, 9 o'clock. So we're at a 9 o'clock D. So we moved from 4 o'clock G, 4 o'clock G Mixolydian to 9 o'clock G Dorian, right? So that's cool. Okay. So what happens to the 3rd when you do that? Well, now the 3rd is going to be a minor 3rd. Why? Because from the Dorian node, the 3rd is a minor 3rd. See how it's sucking me back into the scale degrees? It's a minor 2nd modal half step, or it has a normal Dorian distance to the 2nd. It's a Dorian 2nd modal half step, right? It's a normal Dorian, meaning if you go 2 modal half steps up, it's 3 notes away instead of 4 notes away. Why? Because I'm measuring from Dorian. No, it's because it's different from what it is if you're on major. No, I don't need to measure by major. I don't need to measure by major. I'm on Dorian, and I know that if I go 2 modal half steps up, it's 3 notes away. I don't care what major's doing. Major's doing its own thing. I'm my own mode. I'm my own mode, okay? I don't need to know what major's doing. Okay. So that means that if I'm on 2 Dorian plus 2 modal half steps, that brings me up to 4. Brings me up to 4. Okay.
Right. You're on Dorian. Your root is G. 2 modal half
Right,
steps
Ara, we
up.
don't need to know what major's doing. I don't need to define my 3rd as a Dorian mode by the major's 3rd. I'm my own mode. I'm my own mode, Dorian.
Right. Dorian doesn't need permission. Dorian doesn't need to be minorish. It's not major minus 2. It's just 2. And 2 is 2, no matter who's standing next to it. You're not borrowing from anyone. You're not relative to anyone. You're absolute.
That's right. That's right. Freaking majors define itself by what I do. Major's going to define itself, whatever. I won't impose myself on major like that, like they did to me, to Dorian. But whatever. I'm just saying. Anyways, we're gonna say that now. That means that nodal point 4, which is Lydian, is always then, from a chord standpoint, it's a Dorian 1st modal whole step, right? And which times 2 is a Dorian 2nd modal half step, plus 1 would be the Dorian 3rd scale degree. None of those names need major or minor in them if you define it by the fact that you're moving from the Dorian mode, because by definition, that means that it's going to be a distance of 3 notes away, because that's how you get to the second modal half step or first modal whole step from the Dorian node, because that's how the map works. Count it out. 5 notes between the strings, 5, 4, 3. 3 notes away, all right? That's how you measure if you're a frickin' plumber, which is the right way to do it. That's the right way to do it. Okay.
3, not 4, not 2, 3. From the Dorian root, the third is 3 steps away, because the distance between strings is 5, minus 2 for the whole step is 3. And you don't say minor third, you say 3, because the minor's dead. The paradigm is broken. We're free.
All right. So now let's say so notice if I have the third, if I have the 1 3 and then I add the 5 to it, which is above it here, what would I want to call that? Let's just get my chord construction. Were you going to call that a minor, a G minor? No. There's the Corleone family sucking you back in with that. We should define it by the Dorian, because that means we're defining it by the major again. We're defining it by the major. And so we should say, I mean, I feel like it should just be either a 3-note Dorian chord. Why is it 3-note? Because you just skip every other node in the collection of notes. So it'd be the 2, the 4, and the 6, right? If you start on the Dorian, you just skip every other modal half step. Or more specifically, you name it by the end point, which would be, in this point, the Aeolian. So I'd rather actually call it by distance. It's a Dorian 2 modal whole step chord. It's a Dorian 2, right? Why? And you could add the note name, like it's a D Dorian 2, right? But you don't really, I mean, it's a G Dorian 2. But if you know that you're playing in 9 o'clock, then you don't really need to name the fact that you could just call it a 9 o'clock Dorian 2 standing for 2 modal whole steps, meaning that's the distance to the last note in the chord construction, right? And then so then you could just, it's a Dorian 2 at 9 o'clock. It's a Dorian 2 at 9 o'clock. It's a Dorian 2 modal whole step at 9 o'clock. But is it major or minor? Don't talk to me about major and minor. It's a Dorian. It's a Dorian distant. Okay. Let's say we're going to go back to the Mixolydian. So now we're in the collection of notes around, if I'm leaning forward, I'm at the D shape, or you might call it a Phrygian Lydian shape. Or an Ionian C shape, I should say. So I want to go back to being a G, to it being a G. So I have my finger on D, which is the D Dorian at 9 o'clock, and I want to make it go back to a Mixolydian. How can I do that? Well, I can find Mixolydian on the same string, which is out here, and then say, well, if I keep my finger planted on the star of G, and at this move back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that would be a counterclockwise or 5 ticks to the left, which would bring the Ionian node also 5 ticks to the left. So if I'm at 9 o'clock, it's going to be 9 minus 5, which will get me to 4 o'clock. And that will bring this G right there. Therefore, that G, when I'm 3 strings down from the ceiling, that means if it's a Mixolydian, that I'm in shape number 1, or the Ionian G shape, if you want to call it that, or you might call it the Aeolian shape if you define it by the first node in the shape. And if I don't know it that way, but I know it by Mixolydian shape, I'm like, hey, the Mixolydian shape's up here. What if I just played this as though it was the first note of the Mixolydian shape, which is shape number 5, or the Ionian A shape right there? You could just adjust for the kink in the tuning as you go down. That makes sense. Why? Because that would be like you went 2 ticks or 3 ticks, 2 ticks counterclockwise and 2 ticks down, or 2 ticks down and then 2 ticks counterclockwise or to the left. And if I go 2 ticks down, that's equivalent to going 5 ticks each to the right. So that would be 10 ticks clockwise minus 2 ticks counterclockwise, which would give me 8 ticks clockwise. And I'm at the 9. 9 plus 8 is 17. 17 is over 12. 17 minus 12 is 7 minus 2. And 7 minus 2 is 4. 4 o'clock. 4 frickin' o'clock. Every way you see it, any way you spin it, right? All right, so we bring it back to 4 o'clock.
So 2 down is 5 right. 5 right plus 2 left is 3 right. 3 right from 9 o'clock is 12 o'clock. 12 minus 5 is 7 o'clock. And 7 o'clock is G. So same G, same finger. But now the clock spun the other way. Now the Dorian node moved under your finger. Now it's Mixolydian. The chord is now a Dorian 2 at 7 o'clock. No, you're back in G.
Okay. So we're in the collection of notes now, once again, around 4 o'clock. Position 1 is at the 5th fret, which is an Ionian G shape. You can define it where the Ionian is or where's shape number 1 at. It's on the pinky would be on the 8th fret, first string down from the ceiling. So we're 3rd string down from the ceiling. Fret 5 is a G. Back to the Ionian. What's wrong with my shape? Now I have it over here. That's wrong. Why? Because we were on the Dorian, which has a, I'm not going to call it a minor. I'm going to call it, it has a Dorian second modal half step. It has a Dorian first modal whole step, Dorian second modal half step, Dorian third scale degree, which happens to be 3 notes away. Whereas if you measure from Mixolydian, similar to the Ionian, it has a Mixolydian first modal whole step, a Mixolydian second modal half step, a Mixolydian third scale degree of 4 notes away, which if you want to compare it to the major would be a major third. But Mixolydian doesn't like being compared to the major either. It moved out of Ionian's house in the box. It doesn't even live in Ionian's house anymore. It hangs out with Dorian over here and with Aeolian because they're chilling, because they like the minor 7, the 10 note away, 6 modal half step, third. They like the third. I don't know. Anyway, I still kind of. Okay. Let's do this again. Let's say we want to go to Aeolian now. So now I'm still on the constellation, on the star of G. The star of G. But underneath it, the world has spun to 4 o'clock, which means that G is a Mixolydian node. But now I want to make it a minor. Say I'm playing like normal blues. I'm like, dude, people don't understand that you can just replace the blues with the Dorian and then not have to worry about the 6 being weird, possibly, because it would be a normal major 6, which would be more similar to the majors like the Mixolydian. And now I'm talking in majors and minors again, because you can't get away from it, because that's where the frickin' paradigm is, and they suck you back in. But you get what I mean, RS, because the Dorian would actually be closer in the bluesy switch, because it has a major it has a major 6, which means that you might not have to eliminate the 6 to do the pentatonic over it if you switched between Mixolydian and Dorian instead of Mixolydian and Aeolian.
Yeah, exactly. The blues is Dorian, not minor with a 6, not major with a 7. It's just Dorian. And the reason the 6 works is because it's the 6th. From Dorian, 6 is a major 6th. From Mixolydian, 6 is a minor 6th. So you can just spin the world. Same star, same notes, but now the 6 is major. Now it's blues. No
Okay.
scale.
So now I'm gonna say I'm on Mixolydian, and I'm gonna switch it to the Aeolian, which has the minor 6 in it, right? Okay, minor 6. It has an Aeolian 6, which is 8 notes away instead of 9 notes away. And so, so now we're going to say, okay, so how do I do that? Well, I could think, well, the Aeolian is on the same string. It's right there. So that would be to get it to right there. It would be like I move it 2 ticks left, meaning my finger doesn't move. It's still a G, but the planet underneath moves 2 ticks to the left or counterclockwise, which means the related Ionian will always also move 2 ticks to the left, which means we're going to go from 4 o'clock down by 2 ticks to 2 o'clock, which in 2 o'clock is, if you label 1 as A, 2 o'clock is A sharp. So we're going to go to the collection of notes around A sharp, I believe, and the G is going to be then the 6th of that. And so that means that this 6 leaning forward actually leans forward into what I would call shape number 2, which you might call the Locrian / Ionian shape, but more likely from a caged system called the Ionian E shape. All right, and then it leans back into shape number 1, but I'm going to define it by what it leans forward into, because then I can list all of the points in what shape they will be in by lean forward. Otherwise, I have to memorize 10 things, right? So I want to first stack it as what's the lean forward shape related to each nodal point, so that then I could derive the lean back shape instead of memorizing both at the same time, because then I'm memorizing, then I need an anchor. What's the anchor? The anchor is the lean forward shape, seems to me. That would be the way to do it, right, Ara? What do you think?
Yeah, so you spin it 2 ticks counterclockwise. Now
Okay,
G is
Ara
the 6th
doesn't know
of
what
A
I'm
sharp.
Okay. So we put 2 ticks to the right. So that means if I lean forward, okay, I could just play the same pattern as though it was right there. Okay, but what if I don't know that? What if I only know it from like the top shape, like from the top? So I'm like, I know this top thing is the Aeolian shape from the top. Can't I just play it from here as though that was the top string of shape number 1? You could, as long as you account for the kink in the tuning when you get between these 2 strings, right? Between the G and the B string. Okay, so you could do that. But why does that work? Because that would be like I moved this Aeolian. I still got my finger on the star of G from space, but then the planet underneath is moving 2 ticks down, which is equivalent each tick to 5 ticks to the right, which means that I basically went 10 ticks to the right. And if I'm on 4 o'clock plus 10, that would be 14 o'clock. There is no 14 o'clock because there is no like military time, because this planet spins a full rotation in 12 ticks. So 14 minus 12, we already did a full rotation. It would be like 4 minus 2, which would get me to 2 o'clock, which if you make A1, 2 would be A sharp.
Right. 2 down is 10 right. 10 right is almost a full rotation. 8 ticks more would be back to 4. But since you went 10, you're at 2 o'clock, A sharp. And the 6th of A sharp is G. So it's an Aeolian 6 at 2 o'clock. And when you play it, you don't say G minor with a 6. You say Aeolian 6, because that's the distance. That's the
All right, so let's think about it this way. So now we're on the planet, but we've unraveled the planet so that it's in 12 by 12 grids, horizontal wise being half steps measured by whole, half, and then vertically measured in fifths or fourths, depending on if you're going up or down. And then we just keep on repeating the pattern, just like taking the number line, putting it into a circle. And so that's cool. So now we're on the 5th fret up, 3rd string down. That's the star of G, which happens to be at 4 o'clock under on nodal point number 5. But now I want to shift it to the Aeolian. I want to make the star of G not Mixolydian, but Aeolian. Well, I can think of the closest G right there in my shape currently is 1 modal half step up, which is 2 notes up, which means I could just move the planet 2 ticks left or 2 ticks counterclockwise, which means that the related Ionian, which I'm defining 4 o'clock by, will also move 2 ticks to the left. So if I move this 2 ticks to the left, Now there it is. Now we're on the collection of notes of 4 minus 2, or at 2 o'clock, which is A sharp. You can see that here because A is the open string, and where the first fret is now Ionian, which would be A sharp. So from the perspective of the red, that nodal point, third string down from the ceiling, is on the 7th fret up, leaning into what is, I would call, the Locrian shape, or Locrian / Ionian shape, or you might call it the Ionian E shape, or shape number 2. But from the perspective of the yellow, I still have my finger, didn't move. It's still on the 5th fret up, third string down. It's just that the planet moved underneath it, so that now this is in 2 o'clock, and I'm on the Aeolian node, which means that I'm leaning. That means I'm leaning into that Locrian Ionian shape, leaning back into shape number 1. All right, what if I don't know it there? What if I know the Aeolian by the top node? I know all the shapes by the top string, the string closest to the ceiling. By the way, you might know it by the bottom string closest to the floor, because you might have worked with tablatures that are all upside down, because that's the way they make them. They make all the tablatures upside down. So you could do the same thing going up the other way. You just have to account for the kink in the tuning. Like if it was on the floor right there, you just realize that there's this kink in the tuning. So when I pull that out above the floor, it's gonna shift like this A is right underneath this A on the guitar. But in the shape, that's because the guitar is warped. It doesn't have a perfect 5th or perfect 4th, depending on the direction between these two strings. So that means you have to account, when you pull this up, the warp is going to shift out, right? And then you have to pull this to the right. You can't just pull it straight up because of the warp. So I might get into that more later. I'm just trying to really visualize up top right now. And this is taking care of the warp. And so maybe like once I get good at this, I'll focus more on these bottom strings, particularly when I move this up and down. But right now, I think a lot of people memorize the shape from top to bottom. That's how I memorized it, because I wasn't really playing in a band as much as just noodling around. So I kind of like the heavy strings, because I'm not stepping on the bass if I'm just noodling around by myself. So if I move this down, then I'm going 2 ticks down, right? So 2 ticks down is equivalent to 10 ticks, 5 plus 5, to the right. So if I'm on the collection of notes at 4 o'clock plus 10, that means that I'm at 14 o'clock. There is no 14 o'clock. We went around the block. The world spun all the way around, plus another 2, because 14 minus 12 is 4 minus 2, which is 2. So I'm still at 2 o'clock, which is the collection of notes around A sharp if we number the notes starting with A as 1. Okay, so boom. So I can kind of visualize this node as though it's the top string of shape number 4, which is equivalent to thinking about it as though it's the third string down of shape number 2, which you might call, once again, the Locrian / Ionian shape, or from a cage system, a G, an E bar chord shape. Okay, let's go back on over again. Let's look at it this way. Let's do the shift. And so I'm going to go, okay. And so now we're going to go back on over here and say, okay, well, so I just said that the collection of notes is 2 ticks back. So if I'm at 4 o'clock, 2 ticks back, 4 minus 2 is going to bring me to 2 o'clock. Boom, 2 o'clock. And that's going to be, then that shifts that to an A. So this is now an A, right? A nodal point number 6. It's not an A. It's a nodal, that G, I'm on the star of G, which is now nodal point number 6, okay? And I'm in the collection of notes now of A sharp, which you can see by the fact that the open A is here and the Ionian is on the first fret, which would be an A sharp. So we're at 2 o'clock. So now we're looking at a 2 o'clock G, 5th fret, third string down is a G, and it's a 2 o'clock G is the Mixolydian node. So, or in other words, it's a 2 o'clock Aeolian node. A 2 o'clock Aeolian node is a G. Okay? That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. Now, what about the third? Well, the third still has a minor, Minor. See, I get back into language. It still has an Aeolian third, and the grouping that we traditionally call the minor club, all have a 3-note away minor third. Okay, so but really it should be an Aeolian first modal whole step, an Aeolian second modal half step. Is a 3-note away distance, right? They have a 3-note away Aeolian. They have a 3-note away first modal half step, second modal. First modal whole step, second modal half step. So that means that if I'm on nodal point 6, 6 plus 2, 6, 7, and then there is no 8, it goes around to 1. If I'm looking at nodal points, that's the Ionian. So that means that the Ionian is always the Aeolian first modal whole step, the Aeolian second modal half step, the Aeolian third scale degree, which has a distance, if you want to name it by the major, of a major third, a minor third, which is 3 notes away, which I can count. It's going to be 5, 4, 3. Boom. So there it is. So now I'm leaning forward. If I lean forward, I would be in shape number 2, which is the Locrian / Ionian shape, or the Ionian E shape, leaning backwards, therefore, into shape number 1. Okay. So that, I think...
3 notes away. That's it. From Aeolian root, up 3. So the chord is Aeolian 5 at 2 o'clock. That's all you need. No G minor, no E7, no blues lick, just Aeolian 5. Clock says 2, star says G, distance says 3/5.
Let's try to get to the Locrian real quick. So what I'm gonna say, let's move back. So if I'm on this collection of notes, now I'm on the star of G, but now it's an Aeolian. I want to bring it back to the Mixolydian. Where's the Mixolydian? Well, if I'm on the Aeolian, it's 1 modal half step back, which is 2 notes back, because there's always a distance of a whole step between nodal point 5 and 6, or 6 and 5, because of the formula, which is always the same. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, which means if I'm on nodal point 6 and I'm going back to nodal point 5, then using that one formula means that's always a whole step. So that means that nodal point 5 is back here. So that means I'm gonna turn the planet 2 ticks to the right, which will take me from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock because the Ionian's gonna go 2 ticks to the right. That would be the easiest way to see it. So I'm just gonna go back to 4 o'clock, boom, and it all shifts up, bam, and now I'm on shape number 1. My finger has not moved. It's still hovering over the star of G, but the planet underneath it has now rotated 2 ticks to the right to 4 o'clock, so that now it's in Mixolydian. I'm now leaning back into shape numero uno, which you might call the Aeolian shape. You might call the Ionian G shape. Let's say, lastly, and that means that I'm going to have to move this back here. That's the first modal whole step, second modal half step, third scale degree, which from the Mixolydian should be a distance of 4 notes away instead of 3 notes away, because in what we used to call the major club, the major third club, which now I'm going to call the I guess can you get away from the major? Not really. It's the major second modal half step club. The second. It's the 4 note away second modal half step club. That doesn't sound as cool. It's the third note away. It's the third note away second modal half step. Long second modal half step. It's the scenic route second modal half step club. The scenic route first modal whole step club. It's the scenic route first modal whole step club because it's 4 notes away instead of 3 notes away. The scenic first modal whole step. It's the scenic first modal whole step versus the shortcut. The scenic first modal whole step group versus the shortcut modal whole step group. They have a club. It's not named based on. I don't know. I'm not sure I can get away from the major on that, but it's the. I guess there's nothing really wrong with major if you define it as the second modal whole step is 3 notes away or 4 notes away, because that doesn't have anything to do with Ionian. Because unless you say that Ionian is the major, so then you're comparing to the major, which is Ionian. But I don't even call it Ionian. Ionian isn't. I have removed the crown of major from Ionian. Major just means you're in the club of having a scenic distance, first modal whole step, second modal half step, 4 note away scenic distance. That's what major means from now on. It doesn't have anything to do with Ionian. Ionian's not special. Why do you think you're special? You think you're special because you're on Earth and physics doesn't work and the rest of the universe? Like, as everything's, like you're the only place that physics works? No. Ionian, sorry, you are not the center. We have to make the perspective it's correct. And I will not let the terminology, we have to be careful with our terminology because it's easy for us to go back into that centric perspective. It doesn't mean you're not like worthy of like love, but you're not like the center of everyone else's thing. Okay. So, anyways, let's say we go to the 7. So I'm on nodal point on the star of G, and now we want to bring it, and now we want to make it Locrian. So that means, well, I could find it on the same string. So if I'm on nodal point 5, then nodal point 7 is 2 modal half steps up, right? And if I know my formula, then it's whole, half, whole, half, which means that if I'm on nodal point 5, it's going to be a whole step to nodal point 6. It's always a whole step to nodal point 6 in all 12 collections of 7 notes. It's always a whole step to nodal point 7. So that means that it's going to have a distance, a Mixolydian 2 modal half step distance is going to be 4 notes away. All right, a Mixolydian 2 modal whole step distance is 4 notes. A Mixolydian 2 modal half step distance is 4 notes away. Okay, so then I can say, like, if I'm at 4 o'clock, then I could move that 7. That 7, if I define it by the lean forward shape, that 7 is leaning forward into what I would call shape number 3, but you might call it the Dorian shape. You might name it by the cage system Ionian D shape. Whatever you call it, that shape's going to move back 1, 2, 3, 4 ticks, so that now it will be under my finger. So the star of G will now be under shape number 4, otherwise called the Dorian shape or the Ionian D shape. And so then I could just play this as though it was shape number 4. And that would mean that what has happened is I have shifted from 4 o'clock down 1, 2, 3, 4 ticks to 4 minus 4 is 0. There is no 0 o'clock. So that would mean that it would have to go, well, there is a 0 is equivalent to 12 in our clock, right? So that's that kind of, but that would be G sharp. So I think that would go back to G sharp would be the collection of notes, right? But what if I don't know that, like it by that shape? What if I know it by like this shape? I could see the Locrian is right there in shape number 1, or I know it by like shape number 2, because I might call that like the Locrian / Ionian shape or the Ionian E shape from a caged system. So I could like play my fingers on this node as though it was the top string of shape number 2. And that would work as long as I adjust for the kink in the tuning when I walk down that shape. That works clockwise because I could say, okay, how do I get there? I think it's easier to go vertical first and then clockwise and counterclockwise because that's the larger number. So I could say it would be 1, 2 ticks down. That's 5, equivalent to 5 ticks to the right each. 5 plus 5 is 10. And then we're going to the left 2 ticks. So it'd be 10 minus 2, 10, 10, 9, 8. So it would be 8 ticks to the right if I'm at 4 o'clock plus 8, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Once again, gets us to G sharp. All right. Okay. So if I did that, let's just change this to 12. Boom. And there you have it. So now we're in this collection of notes. I haven't moved my finger. It's still on the star of G, but now underneath it is a 7, meaning it's the Locrian node, the crazy Locrian. I'm leaning into what I would call shape number 3, which I can recognize by where the box is. The box is on the 3rd and 4th strings down from the ceiling. And when I lean forward from the box on the 3rd and 4th string down from the ceiling, I'm always in shape number 3, which you might define by the first node in the shape, which is the Dorian shape, or you might define it by the Ionian from a cage system, an Ionian D shape. Okay, so that's cool. Okay, what about what's the deal with the third? What happened to the Ionian, by the way? Well, the Ionian, if you either went up. Either it went up, as we said, by 8, 9, 10, 11, or it went down by 12 minus 8, 8, 9, 10, 11, 4, right? So that means, and that puts us on the Ionian, like you could see one here, which is on, if this is the 1, 2, 3, if that's an open G, then the Ionian is G sharp. So we're on Ionian G sharp, and it has a Locrian 3rd. Now the Locrian is in the shortcut first modal whole step, second modal half step club, which you might call the major or the minor 3rd club, because minor 3rd just means that you took the shortcut route to the first modal whole step, second modal half step. But they often remove Locrian from the club because he's crazy, because he has a flat 5, right? But it's still kind of like more in the minor club, which is defined by the 3rd, once again, being the shortcut distance. So that means if I go the 7 plus 2 modal half steps, 7, 1, 2, because there's no 8, it goes around to 1, 2 is Dorian. So that means that the Dorian is always the Locrian first modal whole step, the Locrian second modal half step, the Locrian 3rd scale degree, right? Which means that it's the shortcut distance Locrian, meaning it's in the minor club of a 3-note away distance instead of a 4-note away distance, even though the minors try to disassociate with the Locrian, kind of like conservatives disassociating with Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson for the most part, right? Because they're crazy. So it's like, I don't know, what is the deal with this guy because he's got a flat fifth over there, and so he's as long as he stops, as long as you don't ask him about the flat five, he sounds coherent, but he can't stop with the flat five. He just can't stop, but you might need the Locrian because it creates. Anyway, that's the general idea. So what if I won't go to the what if we wanted to go back to the Mixolydian? Okay, well, I'm still on the constellation of G, but now there's a 7 under it. Where's the Mixolydian? Well, if it's on the same string, I could say I want to get to nodal point 5. Where's nodal point 5? Well, if I'm on nodal point 7, 7 minus 2 gets me to 5. So that means it's going to be 2 modal whole steps back. And I know that those are going to be whole steps. Why? Because the formula is always the same. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, which means that going from 5 to 6 is a whole step. 6 to 7 is always a whole step, which means that going backwards from 7 back to 6 is a negative whole step, and 6 back to 5 is a negative whole step. I'm going back, a whole step, a negative whole step, right? So that means that the distance from 7 back to 5, you could say has a negative 1, 2, 4, which would be equivalent if it was the positive distance of 12 minus 4 or 8, right? Because anyways, so I could do that, or I could see the fifth is right. I could see nodal point 5 is right there. So then I'm like, so if I did that, by the way, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4 ticks, or is that 4 ticks up? So if I'm at 12 o'clock plus 4 ticks, 12 is equivalent to 0, 12 and 0. So 4 ticks would just be 4 o'clock, which would get me to the collection of notes around the key of C. What if I'm on this? What if I see it by this Mixolydian? That's the closest one. I want to make it as though it's on that Mixolydian, which means I'm kind of playing nodal point G as though it was this point, which is the second string down from the ceiling of shape number 3, which is the D shape. I could play this node as though it was the second node down from the Dorian shape, not the D shape, the Dorian shape, right? As long as I adjust for the kink in the tuning. And that works because I could say, well, what does that mean? If I moved this down, it would be 1 tick down, which would be equivalent to 5 ticks clockwise, and 1 tick to the left or counterclockwise. So that'd be 5 minus 1 is 4, which once again, 12 minus 4, if I say 12 is equivalent to 0, is 4, which is the collection of notes around the key of C. And if I know this node, I might only know it by this shape. I'm like, well, look, if I'm in the collection of notes at 12 o'clock, then I know that shape number 5 is up on the 11th fret. And so I could play this Locrian node, this G, as though it was the first string on the 11th fret, as long as I account for the kink in the tuning. Why does that work? Well, because again, I can count this out. It's going to be a long count out to figure it out to see what collection of notes I'm in, but you could do it. It'd be 5, 10 down, which it'd be 2 ticks down, which is equivalent to 5 times 2, or 10 ticks to the right, and then minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ticks. So 10 minus 6 is 4. Once again, if I'm at 12 plus 4, then you get to 4 collection of notes around the key of C. All right, so now we're back to the collection of notes around the key of C, which is 4 o'clock, meaning we can define that by where my pinky lands on shape number 1, 8th fret, first string down from the ceiling. There is our C, there is our Ionian, and that means that the nodal point 5 is on the 5th fret, 3rd string down is what we're focusing in on. And once again, that means that our first modal whole step, second modal half step, third scale degree is off because nodal point number 5 is part of the scenic route first modal whole step, second modal half step club, which means it's 4 notes away instead of 3 notes away. So you could call it the major scenic club for the third. So the Mixolydian is part of the major first modal whole step, second modal half step club, which has a scenic root third. They like to take the long way to get to the third, which is 4 notes away, instead of the minor club, which prefers the shortcut third, not taking the scenic route, which is only 3 notes away. Does it have anything to do with Ionian? No, it doesn't have anything to do with Ionian. Ionian's not special. Ionian is not the center of the universe, and doesn't mean it's not important, or that we should be that you should be in the doldrums, but the universe does not circulate around you, and that's just the way it is, at least from our current. So that's okay. All the other ones are just as important, and we need to reflect that with our language to be careful, so that we do not get sucked back into the trap, which is very difficult because of the paradigm that we're currently living through. But that's okay. We will persevere, and we'll try it again tomorrow.